Welcome to our show. This is the Al Islam and Community Issues Group show. We have very special guests for you today. I'll be your host, Brother Benjamin Shabazz. And to my right, we have Brother Chris Smith.
Good to
How
be
you
here.
doing, brother?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. To my left, we have Brother Dr. Donald Felder. How you doing, brother?
Pleased to be here.
All right, that's wonderful, man. This is a part two of a show that we did, and we was talking about the advantages of mentoring. We was talking about some of the heroes in our community and their life stories, which is two of them right here, right now. So before we really get off into it, I'd like to say a brief prayer and ask to invoke the Creator to come and be a guide over our show. We ask that the Almighty Creator come, sustain us and guide us and help us get this message out in the best manner. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, brothers. First of all, we're members of a group called the Community Issues Group, the Men of the Middle Passage. Community Issues Group is the name of the show. The Men of the Middle Passage. This is a group that we belong to, which is a group of brothers that get together on a weekly basis, and we share and what they call kind of like unpack our week with each other, and we network and do a lot of other things. And we're going to have a phone number at the end of the show that you can give us a call, and we will give you directions on the Men of the Middle Passage meetings. So just briefly, we'll start off with you this time, Dr. Felder. Tell us a little bit about the Men of the Middle Passage.
Well, the Men of the Middle Passage is a group for African American men. We meet weekly, and you would be surprised that this has been going on now for about 4 or 5 years. And the purpose is really to explore this aspect of healing and how that process really works for you as an individual. That is, in fact, a discovery. I'm learning more and more and more about the importance of healing in order to share stories with men who might even be strangers. The other piece is to do work outside of the group. And I was really impressed with the stories that I've heard that our young men, or there was 5 of us who went to Green Hill to meet with brothers who are incarcerated and are likely to go to adult institutions. And there was opportunity to share stories there. So that the young men have an understanding of how they take care of themselves, first and foremost. So the Men of the Middle Passage is a very powerful group. It's it's, how they say black men always like to argue with each other and get moved to fights and all that sort of stuff. In 5 years, I can only think of one big argument. No fighting, no guns, no whole lot of drama. So it's obviously having an impact with young men and older brothers like myself who have the opportunity to exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, obviously talk about our beliefs and how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of our community.
Yeah, outstanding. Brother Chris, you want to follow up with that?
Yeah, I'll just add to what Dr. Felder had said. He invited me actually to this group back in like February or March timeframe of this year, and I made it to the meeting, and I was really overwhelmed by the unity that was there and the men that were there. There were older men, younger men, so it was like no matter what you were in need of, you could kind of find a spot to fit in. And I got such a charge out of that. It was like I couldn't wait till Friday nights to come so that I could get there, because sometimes when you're out and you're doing your day-to-day activity, it's almost like you're fighting this thing by yourself, whatever it is. If it's the racism, the unfair treatment, all those activities that go on. And so when I got to the Men of the Middle Passage, I found out that there were other men with similar issues and similar, type of things going on in their life. And I was able to get in there and sort of see what was going on and hear what was going on. And so one brother came one night and he talked a little bit about healthcare and about screening and cancers and things like that. And to, go get your colonoscopy or whatever it is, So there are many issues being discussed. And so you're not going to hear that nowhere else. You're not going to find At least I didn't. So it was important for me to hear that and not only know it was a safe place to go to hear things, to check out things on my own, because depending on where you are in life, sometimes you have your elders ahead of you, sometimes you have some people looking at you as an elder, and you're there for them, and others are there for you. So I was really proud. In fact, I was gonna ask Dr. Felder why did he take so long to invite me, because it had been like he's been involved for 4 years, so I guess I wasn't a good fit enough there to get in there now.
Quit telling that story.
So, anyway, I'm glad to be there.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It's really a wonderful expression of black manhood, and it defies that stereotype.
Yes.
We can't walk across the street together. I remember a wise man told me one time when we was talking about black unity. He said, "You can't get two black men to walk across the street together." So this defies all of that stereotype.
Yes, it does.
Defies that Willie Lynch syndrome, I think, that is really plaguing us
Well,
today.
we hold hands and walk the street together.
Yeah, then why don't you talk about the little ceremony that we do at the end?
The ceremony or the ritual that we do at the very end is a very powerful strategy for reminding members how important it is to maintain unity. So we say in a very large circle, one person will begin with, "I am."
We're standing up, right?
Standing up, locked arms.
Okay.
You would say, "I am." You would say,
I am.
"I am." And together we would say,
We are.
Yeah, that's just, it's a very powerful ritual that we have that just keeps us thinking about the power of one. What do they say? What's that saying? Not one for one, one for all, but there was something. Teach one.
Yeah, each one teach one.
Each one teach one. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I'm reminded of when I go to these meetings.
Yeah, it's a powerful networking tool, because people will come there with issues that may be bothering them and they don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's
Even yesterday, we had the movie night.
Yeah.
So once a month we have movie night in which the community is invited to study something about us, changing the narrative about us, so that when we leave, we can lift our heads up, we can feel proud of not only yourself, but feel proud of everybody who walks out the door with you.
That's right. And Brother Chris, in the first show, you mentioned something about men coming together as men. But normally we don't have an outlet. Could you comment on that? I thought that was powerful.
Yeah, well, if you take a look at women issues, for example, and you look at all the things women have an ability to reach out and get support with, their support groups, you will find that they have magazines, they have talk shows, they have TV, radio, they even have one another to engage with. Black men, if we have issues, we tend to just lock in and don't deal with them. So as a result, we don't go to the doctor as often as we should if we have an issue. We don't talk about things if we have issues. And so we don't get the help we need early on. Then by the time we do start to have a conversation, we're near on our deathbed from whatever the sickness or ailment it was. So we just don't have that. So when I'm in the middle passage meeting, for example, when we go around the room, we talk about our check-ins that we have, and we're listening to people talk, and different brothers will bring up things, that are men related, you know what I mean? Whether it was a family issue with one of the kids, not getting along at home with one of the spouses or something, or if it's a health related type of issues. And I've never been in an environment where I've ever had an ability to see that happen. So it was powerful for me to just hear it. And then I look at Donald as an older of mine. So if I had a man issue, I would feel very comfortable talking to him. Hopefully others around the room see me as that way and can talk to me about other things that are happening in their life or issues that may be going on. I'd be more than glad to help and assist as well. But it just frees up all that opportunity in a meeting for us to have those conversations.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, James Williams, who came 2 weeks ago, is now from Tacoma, is now talking about starting a men of Middle Passage group in Tacoma. just because of two experiences that he had. So that just talks about the power of unity again, and the power of believing that we can take care of one another.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So again, I want to just relate that at the end of the show, we're going to put up a phone number for any of the brothers out there who want to come and check us out, and you can get more information on that. On the last show, we were talking about the definition of a hero and advice to our young people and advice to some of the brothers that have influence over our young people. So I'm going to start off by talking about the definition of the hero, which is one who leaves a situation, gains knowledge and understanding, and goes back in that same situation, destructive situation, and reaches out to pull up their brothers or sisters out of that. That's literally the definition of a hero. And you two gentlemen have, the reason why I chose you is really are that. It's just the definition of a hero. And so last show we talked about your educational experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So let's focus a little bit on this show, the kind of advice that you would give to young people out there. So I'll start off with you this time.
Certainly. Well, one of the things I think is important to, for my young brothers out there, sisters out there, is don't get discouraged. It's a systematic system that's structured for you to get frustrated with the process. So the process is when you're 0 to 18, you should be in, elementary school, middle school, high school, but you should be pursuing something because, you got the next 40 years of your life to work somewhere. So that means you want to take that time and take advantage of that time in order to create yourself as a marketable tool. And what happens is that we allow the system, the structure, the education, the people that are around us to frustrate us so that we don't go out and achieve what we need to do. And as a result of us not achieving that, we get frustrated and we take on a different flow in terms of the community and things that we should be doing, get into trouble, and then there goes the process and the system. So I would try to encourage my young brothers and sisters not be frustrated, stay in the process of the flow. If you figure out something you want to do or become, pursue that. Work hard at it, try to be the best you can at it, and with all proper help and support, I'm sure you'll be able to achieve that goal.
So a little bit about now, in your personal history, I believe you were saying that you were, as a youngster, you was out there ripping and running.
Ripping and running.
And an elder came along and saw the potential in you and kind of grabbed you.
He did.
And then they encouraged you to go on and become an electrical engineer at Boeing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so what happens in that process, I was one of the few fortunate because a lot of my brothers and sisters, guys who I went to school, ran the streets with, wasn't that fortunate. Me and a guy was running the streets. We were going to rob a gas station one night. We set it up, watched it for 3 weeks, and that night I could hear my mom's voice saying, don't do it, don't do it. So I went home. He goes down to rob the gas station right on the corner of 23rd and Union. He stabbed the man in the heart and killed him and did 7.5 years in the penitentiary. And I could have been with him that night because, we knew where the safe was. We had watched it. And so it's just, I was fortunate because I heard my mother's voice and I said, no, man, I'm not going. And he called me all kind of names, and, from punk on down the line. But I went home and I was very fortunate to do that. So in an instance like that, being a young person, you just made a bad choice and you're going to have to pay for those things. But anybody who wants the assistance and wants the help or want to be improved around things, there's people out there that'll help you. The Men of the Middle Passage, the group, I'm proud to be a part of it, and I will reach out from that group to help support anyone. Just like the elder man, he helped me out. He gave me good advice. He gave me motivation. He gave me courage. He gave me for the first time tools. He said, son, you're somebody. You don't have to always be like everybody else. He said, keep your mouth quiet. He said, keep your ears and eyes open. And we would go places, and he would take me with him and just be teaching me and talking to me all the time about stuff. And so I would listen. He said, when you go into a room, he said, stop talking. He said, that's part of people's problem. They talk too much. Shut up. He said, just listen. And then when it's the time to speak, he said, then speak. He says, you could be the dumbest person in the room, but don't nobody got to know it. He says, when you open your mouth and tell them, then they know it. So he would just be doing those kind of things all the time. So he educated me and made me really, really sharp in terms of stuff. And I took his advice and I went, because he said, as a black person, he says, you got 3 strikes and you're out. He says, 1, you're poor, 2, you're black. He says, you can't strike, you got one more pitch coming your way and you can't swing and miss. So this is it. And when I heard that wisdom and I began to buy into what he was saying, he was actually right. And I started on a path and went, and I didn't stop.
And became successful.
Yes, sir.
Not only became successful, but became a positive image for your family and
Absolutely.
people in the community.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Felder, let's,
Take it, Doc.
let's talk about a little bit about your experiences in terms of how you reached your success.
Sure, while giving advice.
Yes.
So, I think that, when you ask the question about my journey, right, I was thinking about my experiences on the bus on the way to school. And on my way to school, I could see the bus driver's eyes roll up in his head when he see me getting on the bus. And you know why? Because I was going to have everybody on the bus laughing. And so I forget, I remember he must have called the principal, and the principal called my mom and said, your son is terrorizing the bus. So some of my experiences are related to doing wrong. And so when Chris talks about choices, it became very important to me later on when I realized that I wasn't going to be successful by myself. I realized that sometimes the knowledge that I gained wasn't, again, going to come from folks who look like me. I learned that there are folks in our world who really do have a desire for you to become the best that you can become.
Yes.
And I think sometimes allowing people into your life also creates this avenue where you can find yourself. When you find yourself, you start to believe in yourself.
Right.
When you believe in yourself, you begin to see little things that you do that says, I'm on my way. Yeah. So I talked about on the last show how important my last report card, my last high school report card was to me. It was an artifact. And so when I talk to young people today, I talk about collecting artifacts that reminds them of their failures, which propel them to doing something positive in the future. And so when you start collecting that one artifact that says, I can, then it becomes a belief that I could do more. And when you find yourself accomplishing, then you forget about those falsehoods that sometimes lead to this isn't possible. And when you find that rock that you can perch yourself on, you begin to believe that there's something that's beyond me. And when you are able to see beyond the horizon that you were born within, possibilities start to strike. And it becomes such a movement that you find it difficult to sit still. So I mentioned that the collection of artifacts is what I would recommend to young people, is that as you go through your journey, is to be able to collect items, pictures, songs that just kind of remind you of your success in your own journey. And the reason that I say this is because Tom Wright, and he's the guy who wrote that film, New Jack City. You ever watch that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch it more than once?
Oh, yeah.
Then that means it was well written. Okay. So I actually met Tom Wright, and I invited him to talk to some young people who wanted to be screenwriters. And I always remember this young man who said, I wanted to be a screenwriter, but the first paper that he gave me, I rejected. But I rejected it with love. I didn't reject it out of hate or disappointment. It was out of love. And because it was out of love, he wrote it again. And I rejected it one more time. And he wrote it again. I rejected it again. And that young man wrote a paper 5 times to present to Tom Wright. And then I said, I want you to dress up in a suit. And he did. And so I was watching this change that was occurring. And what did he have along the way? Artifacts that will remind him, now that he's in high school, how to be successful. So I have this this desire to give young folks a mental model for how they take those few steps, not many steps, but how you take those few steps to be successful. And so most of our children, I think sometimes because they don't have opportunity to see, they don't have mental models of the work that they have to do. And so when you have that mental model of the work that you have to do, you begin to see your own personal gifts. And as Chris said, I sacrifice. I work harder. I work smarter. I work with others. And that's really the desire that I try to give our young folks.
That's beautiful, brother. So let's go right into advice that you have for older brothers, not elders, but those that have influence over our kids.
Well, I would say if you're a parent, mentor, role model, whatever your stage in life is, I mean, try to do the best you can with whatever audience or group of people that you're working with. Life is not necessarily hard, but it's not easy either, but it should be managed and managed in such a way that if you meet a person, you improve or you add value to their life, that they become the better because of your interaction with them. I believe that that's ultimately important. That's the ultimate state that you would want to, meet and do things. If I find somebody that, that's older than me or younger than me, if they need my support, they need my help, I try to just be there for me. I don't know anything else to try to do other than be me and be helpful as I can in the community. Now, that doesn't mean because I'm doing these things that the other persons don't have to do anything. Everybody has to, pull their own weight, step up to the plate, and just do the best that they can. And then at the end of the day, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with your efforts and the things that you've tried to commit or that you wanted to do, then you probably should, make a change, right? So that's what I'm about. I'm about doing those things that try to improve, lives and try to help others whenever I can. And I think all of us should try to do that. Everyone within the middle passage, everyone within the community, that's our goal. That should be our objective. If we see our brother, our sister that needs some support, needs some help, we should all try to do that. And that would be my advice to, any person. Help when you can. If you see your need, try to be there for it.
Okay. Dr. Felder?
Well, I mentioned earlier that we take young folks up to Esperanza House to meet with the elders there who are in residence. And so...
Well, what is Esperanza House exactly?
Oh, it's actually an apartment. It's the name of an apartment building where elders live. In fact, my first day out there, I discovered that I'm an elder too, but I also I really discovered that
I'm there too.
The young lady, I found that there was a resident who was in my 4th grade class. And I did exactly what you did. You in my 4th grade class? And she said, yes, yes, yes. And I remember you. And so it's really been a wonderful relationship because we have opportunity to reminisce about the things we used to do on the playground. Wink, wink. And so here's my thought about the advice to elders. One is to be open to receive. Because, as we get older, we sometimes get into a mindset that this is the way it is. And what elders have discovered in this process in sharing wisdom between young folk sharing their knowledge, elders sharing their knowledge, bridges are then formed by which they can cross over and say, this has been your experience. I now have compassion in regards to what you do every single day that I did not have to experience. Then there's also this link with elders who have history. And it's their history that gives reason for children to study history, and to study the story. So we actually have brought elders to the school to talk about their journey from the South to the North and some of the hazards that they have to face through that journey, in which they couldn't walk into a restaurant, even up north. And sometimes we think that we always are welcome into all these establishments. Not true at whatsoever. And so elders are able to share how important it is to know self, but be willing to walk outside of self.
I want to thank you, brothers, man. This has been it's really been an honor for me. It's been a wonderful time to express. To our viewing audience, I hope that what we shared today will be of some benefit, because we're living in critical and crucial times. I've heard some people say that we have literally lost a whole generation. I don't know how accurate that is, but I know that a lot of our youngsters are lost. And to have you gentlemen come here and represent your abilities and talents and desire to reach out and help is just a beautiful thing. And also to advertise the Men of the Middle Passage is we want to make sure that people know there's a cadre of people that's interested and want to help, want to share. But most of all, I think you hit it the best. It's a place that black men can come and unpack. That's really important. So I see that our time is running down. I want to thank you, Brother Chris Smith.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And Dr. Donald Felder. And I hope that at some point in the future, y'all can come back. Maybe we'll have some more of the members of the Middle Passage come and join us.
Good idea.
All right. And to our viewing audience, we want to thank you for allowing us to come into your home and share. And thank you for watching. So now we